Okay, guys, so remember the rule is 5 or more goes up, and then 4 or less stays the same. Okay, so let's practice that. Okay, we're going to solve. And we're going to begin by, we're going to round all of our numbers, let's just say to the nearest 10th. Round to the nearest 10th. Okay, so here's the value that we're going to have. We will read this as 3 and 2400. So I'm going to write that below here so we can see that. 3 and, remember that and means our decimal point. All right, so we are going to be rounding this number. So whenever we get ready to round, make sure that you rewrite your number out. And I like to draw this arrow because this is going to remind me to do this step, which is figure out whether or not we're going to stay or if this is going to go up. So let's take a look. We're rounding to the nearest 10th. So the first thing I need to do is find my 10ths place. Okay, here's my ones place. Here's my 10ths place. So this is the digit that I need to circle. So remember, whatever place value we're rounding to, that's what we're going to circle. And remember, our neighbor is going to be the one that's right after. So we need to underline the neighbor. The neighbor is going to be the number 4. So that's where I'm going to underline. Okay? Now remember, if we look at rule number 3, remember the neighbor is the boss. So in this case, our neighbor is the number 4. And our rules are if it's 4 or less, our number stays the same. If it's 5 or more, our number is going to go up. So because this number is 4, that means that this number is going to stay the same. So I'm just going to write that we are going to stay. Okay? So that's going to let me know what I need to do with my new value. So what do we have left? Well, I didn't do anything with this 3. That's going to stay absolutely the same. I'm going to bring over my decimal. And now, when I get to the number that I have circled, I have to make sure that this stays a number 2. I don't change it to a 3. I don't drop it down to a 1. It has to stay the same. So this becomes 3 and 2/10. Okay? It's important you also do not need to put a 0 here, even though there was 3 digits here. There's only 2 here, but keep in mind we are rounding to the nearest 10th only. Okay? Let's do another. And actually, we're going to do a little bit different. We're going to round to the nearest 100th. Okay, rounding to the nearest 100th. Here is our value. We're rounding to the nearest 100th. First things first, I have to figure out where is my hundredths place. Well, here's my ones place. The 0 is in the tenths place. The 3 is in the hundredths place. I'm going to circle here. So here's my hundredths place. This is the value I need to round to, remember? The next thing I need to do is underline the neighbor. Remember, the neighbor is always the number right afterwards. So I'm going to underline that number. Then I'm going to draw my arrow. It's time to get ready to round. Now, remember, after we've underlined the neighbor, if we get stuck right here, remember, go back to your rules. Number 1, circle the digit that needs to be rounded. Check, we've done that. Underline the neighbor. Okay, we've already underlined the neighbor. The next thing is, remember your rules. 5 or more goes up, 4 or less stays the same. So in this case, I have a number 6, and that is 5 or more. So that means here, I'm going to write, we're going to go up. Okay, so let's get ready to do that. Well, we didn't do anything with these numbers before the circle digit, so we're going to just move all those numbers over. So I'm going to rewrite the 5 in the ones place and my 0 in the tens place. Now, when I get to the number 3, this number has to go up, and it's going to go up just one more. It's always just one more. So when this number goes up, instead of it being a 3 now, this is now a 4. Okay? Now, when I read this number, this is 5 and 4/100. And keep in mind, this can be written at different ways, just like with this one. I could put the 0 behind it, but when I read that, I won't be reading it as hundreds. I'll be reading it as thousands because I'm putting that extra place value there. Okay, guys? So let's do one more. Let's do round to the nearest whole number. Okay, round to the nearest whole number. Here is our value. Take a look. First thing we need to do is figure out where is our whole number. Okay, keep in mind, these are all decimals, and I know that these are decimal numbers because these fall after my decimal point. Okay, here is my whole number. I'm going to circle that number. The next number I have is my neighbor. Okay, and what does my neighbor tell this number to do? We are going to go up. Remember, this is 5 or more. So instead of starting with moving our numbers over, we have to start with our first circle digit. So what happens to this circle digit? It has to go up. It's going to go up to the number 8. Okay? And we can write it as 8 decimal point, or you can just write it as 8. All right, guys, so this ends our decimals rounding review.